Hello everybody, welcome to EPG Pathasala. I am Dr. M. Rajeshwari, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry, Biotechnology and Bioinformatics, Avinashilingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women. You have chosen to learn the role of inflammation and defense mechanism. This module deals with how inflammation acts as a defense mechanism to remove bacterial pathogens and foreign material at the site of injury. Inflammation is a defensive response to local injury or other trauma. It is characterized by redness, pain, heat and swelling. Inflammation involves various immune system cells and numerous mediators. The inflammatory response mechanism serves to shut in, weaken, destroy and remove bacteria, toxins and foreign material at the site of trauma or injury. Both inflammation and immune response are defense mechanism. Whereas inflammation is a non-specific defense mechanism, but immune response is specific to invading agents. Thus, this module will introduce the steps involved in inflammatory mechanism. After completing this module, you will be able to understand the role of inflammation in defense mechanism, know the vascular and cellular changes taking place in the process of inflammation, and also you will learn the outcome of inflammatory process. Inflammation is classified into two types based on time course of reaction. Acute inflammation is an initial reaction to tissue injury and generally accompanied by systemic reaction known as acute phase response, which is characterized by rapid alteration in the level of several plasma proteins. Second type is a chronic inflammation, which is a persistent immune activation which often has a pathological consequence. There are 5 cardinal signs of inflammation. First one is a redness or rubor. It is due to the expansion of the arterioles by increased circulation and vasodilation in the injured tissue. Second one is a swelling or tumor. It occurs due to increased blood supply to the tissue, the formation of infiltration due to the development of exudation and edema, swelling of the tissue elements occur. Third one is a heat or calor. Heat so develops as a result of strengthened inflow of warm arterial blood and also as a result of the activation of the metabolism, which increases heat production. Next one is a pain or dolor, which is the result of irritation of sensory nerve endings of various biologically active substances, namely serotonin, bradykinin, prostaglandins and some others. The last cardinal sign is a loss of function, which is decreased cell function. Let us take up the acute inflammation in detail. Acute inflammation is the initial tissue reaction to wide range of injuries or insults and may last from few hours to few days. Acute inflammatory reaction can be triggered by various inflammatory stimuli, namely infectious agents like virus, bacteria and fungi, trauma, physical and chemical agents, tissue necrosis, foreign material and hypersensitivity reaction. Now let us move on to the sequence of events occurs in acute inflammation. The main function of the inflammation is to move the defense mechanism from the vascular system out to the tissues as a response to injury stimuli. There are 2 major components in inflammatory process. First one is the vascular changes, which allow the circulating blood cells to slow down and make their way into the adjacent tissue. Second one is the cellular events, which results from the activation of inflammatory cells. The key changes in vascular events are changes in vascular diameter and vasodilation and increased permeability of microvasculature. Steps involved in cellular events are margination, rolling, adhesion of white blood cells, activation and adhesion of leukocytes, transendothelial migration of white blood cells, and accumulation of white blood cells at the site of injury, and activation of inflammatory cells and production of various chemical mediators. Let us consider the detailed mechanism of vascular event. The first one is a change in vascular diameter and vasodilation. It begins with the momentary vasoconstriction followed rapidly by vasodilation. Vasodilation involves the arterioles and venules with a resultant increase in capillary blood flow causing heat and redness. This causes the cells in the flowing blood to become more concentrated, thereby increasing a blood viscosity and slowing the circulation, especially along the surface of a small blood vessel. These changes are reflected microscopically by numerous dilated small vessels packed with red blood cells called stasis. Vasodilation is induced by the action of several mediators, most notably by histamine nitric oxide. The increased volume of blood flow leads to rise in intravascular pressure, which results in movement of fluid from capillary to the tissue. This fluid is essentially protein power filtrate of plasma, which is called as a transudate. The next key step is increased permeability of microvasculature. Instead of being tightly joined together, the endothelial cells lining the blood vessel wall become separated due to the contraction of endothelial cells, resulting in increased interendothelial space. Thus, microvasculature becomes more leaky and protein-rich fluids moves into the extravascular space, which is called as a exudates, and they will accumulate in the tissues. The loss of a protein reduces the capillary osmotic pressure and increases the interstitial osmotic pressure, which result in accumulation of fluid in the tissue space. This accounts for the swelling or edema and pain. As the fluid moves out of the vessel, stagnation of flow and clotting of blood occur. This aids in localizing the spread of infectious microorganisms. Thus, we have discussed so far the vascular events of inflammatory mechanism. Let us move to the cellular events of inflammation. The sequence of cellular events are marginization, rolling, adhesion of white blood cells, and transendothelial migration of white blood cells. In normal circulation, cells are confined to the central axial stream in the blood vessel and do not flow in the peripheral or plasmatic zone near to the endothelium. However, the loss of intravascular fluid and increase in the plasma viscosity with a slowing of flow rate at the site of acute inflammation allows the neutrophils to flow in this plasmatic zone. Marginated leukocytes begin to roll on the endothelial surface by forming a transient adhesion via selectin family of protein. E and P selectin molecules bind to mucin-like cell adhesion molecules on the neutrophil membrane. This interaction tethers the neutrophil briefly to the endothelial cells, but the force of the circulating blood soon detaches the neutrophil. Selectin molecules on another endothelial cell again tether the neutrophil. This process is repeated so that the neutrophil tumbles end over end along the endothelium, a type of binding called rolling. Adhesion to the endothelium is first loose, allowing the leukocytes to roll along the endothelial surface. As the neutrophils roll, it is activated by various chemoattractants. These are either permanent features of the endothelial cell or secreted locally by cells involved in inflammatory response. Among the chemoattractants, chemokines are a member of a large family of chemoattractive cytokines. Two chemokines involved in activation process are interleukin 8 and macrophage inflammatory protein MIP-1 alpha. This signal induces a conformational change in the integrin molecule in the neutrophil membrane, which increase the affinity for immunoglobulin superfamily adhesion molecules on the endothelium. As adhesion becomes firmer, the leukocytes become stationary and can then begin to migrate through the endothelium and into the site of inflammation. After the white blood cell adhesion, the next cellular event is a transendothelial migration of white blood cells. The process by which leukocytes escape from the blood to perivascular tissue moving to the site of inflammation is called transendothelial migration. After a firm adhesion to the leukocytes can insert the pseudopodia into the endothelial gaps so created between the endothelial cells and then through the basal lamina into the vessel wall. Gaps have been created by the action of histamine and other chemical mediator as well as by the leukocytes themselves. Further adhesive interaction involved an immunoglobulin related molecule called PCAM, that is a platelet endothelial cell adhesion molecule, which is expressed both on the leukocytes and at the intercellular junction of the endothelial cells. These interactions enable the phagocyte to squeeze between the endothelial cells. It then penetrates the basement membrane with aid of proteolytic enzymes collagenase that break down the proteins of the basement membrane. The movement through the vessel wall is known as a diapedesis and enables the phagocyte to enter the subepithelial space. As the leukocyte leaves the vessel, it expresses a beta-1 integrin that helps in bind to the extracellular matrix proteins in the perivascular tissue. Thus, we have seen how vascular and cellular events lead to the migration of WBC at the site of injury or infected area. Once inflammation has begun, the first cell attracted to the site of infection are generally neutrophils. They are followed by monocytes, which differentiate into more tissue macrophages. In the later stage of inflammation, other leukocytes such as eosinophil and lymphocytes also enter the infected site. Once in tissue, the activated neutrophil also express higher level of receptors for chemoattractant and consequently exhibit chemotaxis, migrating up a gradient of the chemoattractant. This process is a receptor mediated and allow leukocyte to travel from the perivascular space to the site of injury or infection. Among the inflammatory mediators that are chemotactic for neutrophils are several chemokines, complement split products namely C3a, C5a, fibrinopeptides, prostaglandins and leukotriene. In addition, molecules released by microorganisms such as a formyl methionine peptide are also chemotactic for neutrophils. Activated neutrophil express increased level of Fc receptors for antibody and receptors for complement, enabling these cells to bind more effectively to antibody or complement coated pathogens, thus increasing phagocytosis. Once at the site of injury, the activating signal also stimulates metabolic pathway to a respiratory burst in leukocytes, that is phagocytosis. Let us consider the detailed mechanism of phagocytosis. The phagocytosis is the attachment of the antigen to the leukocyte cell membrane. Complex antigens such as a whole bacterial cell or viral particle tend to adhere well and are readily phagocytosed. Isolated proteins and encapsulated bacteria tend to adhere poorly and are less readily phagocytosed. Mannose on bacterial cell wall is recognized directly by leukocytes mannose receptor or specific receptors, and leukocytes recognize bacteria opsonized by antibodies and complement fragments. The steps involved in phagocytosis are adherence of foreign particle to leukocytes, which induces pseudopodia that extends around the attached material. The second step is the fusion of pseudopodia encloses the material within a membrane bound structure called as a phagosome, which then enters endocytic processing pathway. In this pathway, a phagosome moves towards the cell interior where it fuses with lysosome to form a phagolysosome. Lysosome contains a lysozyme and variety of other hydrolytic enzymes that digest the ingested material. The digested content of the phagolysosomes are then eliminated in process called exocytosis. The activated macrophages produce antimicrobial and cytotoxic compound by oxygen dependent and oxygen independent mechanism, which will destroy the phagocytosed microorganism. Let us first consider the oxygen dependent killing mechanism. During phagocytosis, a metabolic process known as respiratory burst activated leukocyte, which result in the activation of various enzymes and produce free radicals like superoxide anion, hydrogen peroxide and hydroxyl ready. The various enzymes involved in this are membrane bound oxidase, myeloperoxidase and nitric oxide synthase. Membrane bound oxidase catalyzes the reduction of oxygen to superoxide anion, a reactive oxygen intermediate that is extremely toxic to ingested microorganism. The superoxide anion also generates other powerful oxidizing agents including hydroxy radical and hydrogen peroxide. Myeloperoxidase produce hypochlorite from hydrogen peroxide and chloride ion. Nitric oxide synthase oxidizes the L-arginine to yield citrullin and nitric oxide. Nitric oxide has a potent antimicrobial activity. It also combines with superoxide anion to yield even more potent antimicrobial substance. The factors aid in killing foreign material in oxygen independent killing mechanism are lysozyme, which is a hydrolytic enzyme, attacks bacterial cell wall, that is peptidoglycan. Second one is a defensin, it is antimicrobial and cytotoxic peptides which forms ion permeable channels in the bacterial cell membrane. Third one is a tumor necrosis factor. It has a variety of effects and it is cytotoxic for tumor cells. Release of these reactive intermediates and the release of mediators from neutrophils, primary and secondary granules, namely protease, phospholipase, elastase and collagenase, play a vital role in killing various pathogens. These substances also cause the tissue damage as a result of inflammatory response. The accumulation of dead cell and microorganism together with accumulated fluid and various protein make up what is known as pus. Thus, we have seen how activating neutrophil kill the pathogen by the process of phagocytosis. Next, there is the removal of stimulus. Inflammatory mediates typically have a short half-life and are produced in short bursts while stimulus is present. They are degraded soon after release. Anti-inflammatory lipoxins, that is from arachidonic acid pathway, and cytokines, example tumor growth factor beta, will be produced, and inhibition of the product of inflammatory cytokines in macrophages, which stops the inflammatory process. If the stimulus remains, the chronic inflammatory follows. Next, we will move to various chemical mediators of acute inflammation. Chemical mediator is any type of messenger that acts on a blood cell, inflammatory cells or other cells to contribute an inflammatory response. First one is a vasoactive amines which causes a vasodilation and increase vascular permeability. Example for this class is histamine and serotonin. Next factor is a complement system. Complement system are a group of plasma protein that act together to attack pathogens. When pathogens are coated by complement protein, their removal by leukocytes is facilitated. Besides this, activated complement also involved in increased vascular permeability and chemotaxis. Next factor is a bradykinin, which is a kinase protease system, activates kininogen, thereby lead to the production of bradykinin. Bradykinin causes a vasodilation, contraction of a non-vascular smooth muscle and activate arachidonic cascade. Next factor is a thrombin. Thrombin binds to receptor and platelet endothelium, smooth muscle cell and cause them to mobilize selectin to the cell membrane and expresses adhesion molecules for integrin. Produce chemokines which induces a cyclooxygenase 2 pathway, thereby the production of prostaglandins. Produce a platelet activating factor and nitric oxide and changes the endothelial. Next factor is a arachidonic acid metabolites which are prostacyclin, thromboxane, leukotrienes and lipoxin. Prostacyclin causes a vasodilation and inhibits platelet aggregation. Thromboxane causes vasoconstriction and promotes platelet aggregation. Leukotrienes, which increases the vascular permeability, it is a chemotaxis for leukocytes and as well as it will do vasoconstriction. Lipoxins, which have both pro and anti-inflammatory effects. Lipoxin inhibit neutrophil chemotaxis and adhesion to endothelium but promotes a macrophages adhesion to endothelium. The last factor, chemical mediator, is a cytokine and chemokines. Cytokines are polypeptides produced by many cells and they function to modulate the function of other cell types. Chemokines or cytokines that promotes leukocyte chemotaxis, migration of across the capillaries and post capillary venule. They are interleukins, tumor necrosis factor and interferon 1. Interleukin 6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukin 12 and many chemokines exhibit redundant and pleiotropic effects that together contribute to the inflammatory response. Interferon gamma act later in the acute response and contributing in the major way to chronic inflammation by attracting and activating macrophages. Apart from local inflammatory effects described previously, inflammatory effects also have a systemic episode. The systemic episode of acute inflammation are fever, leukocytosis and acute phase response. Fever, which increases the body temperature and inhibits the growth of number of pathogens. Leukocytosis, which is an increased production of white blood cells. During inflammation, the macrophages synthesis tumor necrosis factor alpha, which stimulates endothelial cells and macrophages to produce a colony stimulating factor. The colony stimulating factor induces hematopoiesis in the bone marrow, which results in increase in number of leukocytes that leave bone marrow into blood circulation. Next is the acute phase response. Acute phase response contribute to the increased production of proteins, that is a several hundredfold, called as acute phase protein in liver. Most of the acute phase protein act as opsonins and fixed complement. They also bind chromatin, possibly aid in clearing the necrotic cell nuclei. The acute inflammatory process can culminate in any one of the following way. Maybe resolution, healing by scarring, progression to suppuration, progression to chronic inflammation. Resolution, which means complete return to the normal tissue following a acute inflammation. This occurs when tissue changes are slight and the cellular changes are reversible. The healing by scarring, which takes place when the tissue destruction in acute inflammation is extensive, so that there is no tissue regeneration, but actually there is healing by fibrosis. The third one is a suppuration, when the pyogenic bacteria causing acute inflammation, which result in several severe tissue necrosis, which progress to suppuration. Initially, there is intense neutrophil infiltration. Subsequently, the mixture of neutrophils, bacteria, fragment of necrotic tissue, cell debris and fibrin comprise pus, which is contained in a cavity to form the abscess. If not drained, may get organized by dense fibrous tissue and in time get calcified. This is called as a suppuration. The acute inflammation may also progress to chronic inflammation, in which the process of inflammation and healing proceed side by side. The word chronic applied to any process, which implies that the process has extended over a long period of time. If the inflammatory response cannot eliminate an injurious agent, infection may persist. Chronic inflammation does not necessarily require infection. It may follow an acute inflammation or immune response to foreign or self-antigen. The various factors in chronic inflammation are microorganism, trauma, cancer and immune factors. Microorganism. Some microorganisms are able to avoid clearance by immune system. For example, by possessing a cell wall component that enables them to resist phagocytosis. Such organisms often provoke a chronic inflammatory response, result in significant tissue damage. Second one is a trauma, which is extensive tissue damage, releases inflammatory mediates, which extends an inflammatory response. The chronic inflammatory cells, that is macrophages, may be morphological expression of immune response to malignant cells. Fourth factor is the immune factor. Chronic inflammation also occur in number of autoimmune disease where self-antigen continuously activate T cells. Example, Graves' disease, Hashimoto thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis and ulcerative colitis, etc. The activation and accumulation of macrophage is the characteristic of chronic inflammation. Interferon gamma and in tumor necrosis factor alpha plays an important role in chronic inflammatory process by activating a macrophage. Activated macrophages exhibit increased cytokine production and increased microcidal activity compared with non-activated macrophages. The large number of activated macrophages releases various hydrolytic enzyme and reactive oxygen and nitrogen intermediates, which are responsible for the large amount of damage to the surrounding tissue. Next, we move to the what are the outcomes of chronic inflammation. First one, it may be resolution or regeneration of a normal structure. Second, it may be fibrosis. That is fibrosis, which is cytokine release macrophage stimulate the proliferation of fibroblasts and production of a collagen. A scar developed at the chronic inflammation is called as a fibrosis, which is a wound healing reaction that interfere with the normal tissue function. The chronic inflammation may also lead to the formation of granuloma, which is called as a granulomatous inflammation. Granuloma is a tumor-like mass consisting of central area of activated macrophages surrounded by activated lymphocytes. The center of the granuloma often contain multinucleated giant cells formed by the fusion of activated macrophages. These giant cells typically are surrounded by large modified macrophages that resemble either epithelial cell, or therefore they are called as epithelioid cells. It is a mechanism for dealing with indigestible substance and certain microorganisms that are difficult to kill. Granulomatous chronic inflammation are classified in different types based on the histopathology. First one is a simple granuloma, which is organized accumulation of macrophage and epithelioid cells often rimmed by lymphocytes. Second one is a complex granuloma with that is a simple granuloma with the central area. Third one is a pyogranuloma, which is rich in neutrophils. Last one is a foreign body granuloma, which has a presence of foreign material like hair, asbestos, keratin, etc. To conclude, inflammation is a protective response intended to eliminate pathogens by bringing the cells and molecules of the host defense at the site of infection. The inflammation is divided into two types based on timeline, namely acute and chronic inflammation. And the inflammation is characterized by two events, namely vascular and cellular events. The vascular events, which involves vasodilation and increased vascular permeability. The cellular events involves leukocyte recruitment and activation of leukocytes. The leukocyte recruitment involves the following steps, namely marginization and rolling of leukocytes on endothelium mediated by selectin. Then firm attachment to the endothelium, which is mediated by the integrins, and migration of this leukocyte through interendothelial spaces. Then leukocytes eliminate the microbes by process of phagocytosis. If the inflammatory response cannot eliminate an injurious agent, the inflammation may persist, which leads to chronic inflammation.